Rent is collapsing, and not slowly, but fast enough to make landlords sweat through their spreadsheets. Across America, something unusual is happening. Places that were once impossible to afford are suddenly offering discounts, free months, gift cards, and incentives so generous you'd think renters were an endangered species. And the wildest part? Most people still have no idea it's happening. Because while everyone is busy arguing about inflation, interest rates, and housing shortages, a different story is unfolding beneath the headlines. A story of empty apartments, overwhelmed developers, and rental markets buckling under their own construction booms. Some cities have built far more units than they can fill. Others are losing residents faster than landlords can post move-in special banners. And a few are experiencing a perfect storm of high supply, shifting demand, and economic slowdown that's turning the rental game upside down. For years, renters have been told to compete, compromise, and pay more for less. But suddenly, the power dynamic has flipped, and certain U.S. cities are now practically begging for tenants. If you've been waiting for a sign to negotiate that rent, upgrade your lifestyle, or move somewhere with breathing room and actual savings, this might be the moment. Welcome to Mr. Globe TV, where we decode the trends, analyze the data, and reveal the places quietly rewriting the rules of American housing. If you're ready to see where rent is falling the fastest and where your money can finally work for you, hit that like button, tap subscribe, and let's dive in. Number 10. Minneapolis, Minnesota. If you had asked anyone back in 2021 whether Minneapolis would ever become a renter's paradise, they would have laughed, grabbed their pumpkin spice latte, and pointed you toward the nearest $2,000 studio apartment. But fast forward to 2026, and the city has flipped the script in a way even locals didn't see coming. Because in Minneapolis right now, rent is sliding downhill faster than a kid on a brand new sled. So what happened? For starters, the city went all in on a development boom. New apartments sprouted up like spring dandelions. Thousands of units built in just a few years, and while developers expected a never-ending line of tenants, something unexpected happened. People stopped lining up. Population growth slowed, remote workers scattered, and suddenly Minneapolis had way more apartments than renters. And that's when the emails began. Move-in special, first month free. Sign today, get a $500 Visa gift card. Your dog lives rent-free. Okay, maybe not that last one, but give it time. Today, the city's average rent has dropped noticeably from its pandemic peak, with some neighborhoods seeing 5 to 10% declines, and luxury units taking the biggest hit. Downtown Minneapolis in particular has a unique problem. Too many shiny new buildings, and not enough people excited to live next to empty office towers. But here's the twist. Despite the falling rents, Minneapolis remains one of America's most livable cities. You still get world-class bike trails, beautiful lakes sprinkled throughout the city like blue jewels, great public parks, thriving arts, and a restaurant scene that punches way above its weight. It's clean, organized, and surprisingly easy to navigate. Yet the biggest factor working in renters' favor is something nobody wants to say out loud: winter. Yes, the cold. The snow. The "why do I live here" wind chill. That bitter, relentless, personality-altering cold that sends half the population south every January. When temperatures freeze ambition and hope at the same time, landlords get desperate. And that's where the opportunity lies. For single renters, young professionals, digital nomads, and budget-minded newcomers, Minneapolis is suddenly offering deals that would have been unheard of a few years ago. You can snag a modern, amenity-packed apartment, gym, rooftop lounge, pet spa, for what some people pay for an outdated box in coastal cities. And don't forget, Minnesota has a strong job market, especially in healthcare, tech, retail headquarters, and finance. Is it perfect? No. The downtown recovery is still sluggish. Winters are real. And if you're allergic to snow, well, that's a conversation between you and your dermatologist. But if you're hunting for value, quality of life, and serious rental savings, Minneapolis in 2026 is the quiet sleeper city you shouldn't ignore. Number 9. Portland, Oregon. For years, Portland was the West Coast's quirky overachiever, the land of craft coffee, indie bookstores, bike lanes, and the unofficial headquarters of "I'll move there someday." But between 2020 and 2023, the city hit a rough patch that chased people away faster than a surprise rainstorm. Fast forward to now, and something unexpected is happening. Rent is collapsing, landlords are sweating, and Portland is quietly becoming one of the most renter-friendly cities in America. Yes, that Portland. Populations shifted and left landlords with empty buildings. Portland saw a noticeable population dip as remote workers fled to cheaper or sunnier states, Arizona, Texas, Idaho. You know the drill. The result, a surge of vacant apartments. Vacancy rates have climbed to 9 to 11%, the highest in over a decade. Neighborhoods like the Pearl District, South Waterfront, and downtown suddenly have more open units than baristas with man buns. Developers weren't prepared for the slowdown. They kept building. And now, more apartments than renters mean one thing: rent prices drop. In 2018, Portland landlords barely returned your email unless you offered your firstborn and 3 reference letters. In 2026, they're sending you emails like desperate exes. $500 off your first month. 2 months free parking. Move in now, pay later. We'll waive deposits, pet fees, and maybe your sins. Some luxury buildings downtown are offering 6 to 8 weeks free, plus rent reductions of $200 to $400 per month. It's a renter's paradise and a landlord's personal horror movie. Construction cranes kept dancing in the sky long after the demand slowed. Add in employers sticking to remote and hybrid work, and suddenly downtown Portland became the quietest it's been in decades. Less foot traffic is less demand for central housing. And because developers bet big on downtown amenities, rooftop lounges, fire pits, pet spas, they're now cutting rent aggressively just to get bodies in the buildings. But the good thing is, despite the headlines, the charm never left. Forest Park remains one of the largest urban forests in America. Powell's Books still overwhelms you in the best way. Food carts still serve dishes worth writing home about. The art scene is alive. The nature access is unmatched. Now you get all this with lower rent, fewer crowds, and landlords who suddenly act welcoming. If you want a walkable lifestyle, green spaces, creativity on every corner, and a cost of living that's snatching its sanity back, Portland deserves a second look. Number 8. San Francisco, California. San Francisco wasn't just expensive, it was absurd. This was the city where people rented closets, slept in pods, and bragged about paying $3,200 a month for a micro-loft with a window facing a brick wall. But in 2026, the unthinkable has happened. Rent is collapsing, landlords are panicking, and renters are holding all the cards for the first time in modern memory. If you're wondering what triggered this seismic shift, the answer comes in 3 words: remote work exodus. When Silicon Valley told workers they didn't need to be in the office, many of them took that as permission to flee to suburbs, other states, or completely different lifestyles. And once those high earners packed up their kombucha machines and left, San Francisco's housing demand dropped harder than a tech stock after earnings. Add to that the thousands of new housing units that finally came online, after years stuck in planning commissions, court battles, and hearings where everyone had an opinion. Suddenly, San Francisco had more apartments than people willing to rent them. And landlords realized something terrifying: they were no longer in charge. Vacancy rates climbed to levels the city hadn't seen in decades. By early 2026, some neighborhoods saw rent decline by 12 to 18%, with luxury buildings hit the hardest. How desperate did it get? Let's just say that when landlords start offering 3 months free, 0 deposit, free parking, and the occasional complimentary Peloton, you know the market is hurting. But here's what makes San Francisco's crash unique. Even as rents fall, the city still offers world-class everything. From food to culture to views that look like desktop wallpapers come to life. Golden Gate Park is still gorgeous. Chinatown still smells like heaven. And the fog? Well, the fog is still fog. So why is demand so weak? Simple: cost versus value. Even at discounted prices, many renters feel the city hasn't addressed key issues: safety, homelessness, slow office recovery, and tech layoffs. The downtown area especially looks like a business district waiting for its employees to return from a very long lunch break. Yet here's the irony: for renters, this is the best moment to strike. San Francisco in 2026 is offering deals you'd never have dared to dream about in 2019. Want a high-rise with panoramic views? Bargain for it. Want a unit with a rooftop deck? Negotiate. Want a dishwasher that actually works? Bold of you, but now is the time to ask. For remote workers, creatives, early career professionals, and dreamers who once thought this city was out of reach, the door is finally open. And landlords are practically rolling out a red carpet to get you inside. Rent collapsing in San Francisco? No one saw it coming, except the people who left. Now it's the renters' turn to win. Number 7. Austin, Texas. For more than a decade, Austin was America's golden child, the city everyone and their cousin wanted to move to. Tech workers fled California in droves, startups sprouted like wildflowers, and landlords raised rents so fast you could practically hear dollars evaporating from tenants' pockets in real time. But in 2026, the party lights dimmed, the music softened, and suddenly Austin is facing a problem no one expected. Rent is collapsing, and landlords are scrambling to fill units they once rented with a waiting list. How did one of America's hottest markets cool off this quickly? Let's break it down. First, overbuilding. Austin didn't just build apartments, it built armies of them. Developers added tens of thousands of new luxury units between 2021 and 2025, convinced the population boom would continue forever. But when demand slowed, thanks to remote work shifts, tech layoffs, and people realizing $2,200 for a studio wasn't quirky, it was insane, the city suddenly found itself with more apartments than renters. Second, the tech slowdown. Austin's identity may be keep Austin weird, but let's be honest, tech money is what kept Austin expensive. Companies paused hiring, scaled back offices, or shifted teams to cheaper markets. Thousands of remote workers who moved to Austin during the pandemic moved right back out when housing costs kept climbing. With fewer new arrivals and a mountain of unused rentals, vacancy rates ballooned. Suddenly, landlords who once acted like their units were premium collectibles started offering incentives that make you blink twice. 2 to 3 months free rent, 0 deposits, free parking in Austin, that's a love letter, reduced pet fees, gift cards, gym memberships, even first-month Uber credits. When landlords start bribing tenants with move-in tequila baskets, you know things are bad. But what really sealed Austin's fate was something more human. Buyer's remorse. Many newcomers discovered that Austin's charm came with growing pains. Traffic that feels like Los Angeles light, 100-degree summers that last half the year, rising property taxes, and a cost of living no longer aligned with typical Texas affordability. Yet here's the twist that makes Austin worth watching in 2026. Despite the rental crash, the city still has everything that made it magnetic in the first place. Music everywhere. Incredible food, barbecue that could start wars, tacos that could end them. Nature at your doorstep, lakes, trails, springs. A youthful, optimistic culture that still believes in possibility. And now renters can finally enjoy it without being financially drop-kicked. Austin is entering its reset era. The hype has cooled, prices have dropped, and for the first time in years, normal people, not just software engineers making 6 figures, can actually afford to live in neighborhoods they love. So if you always dreamed of living in Austin but felt priced out, 2026 might be your moment. Number 6. Phoenix, Arizona. Phoenix has always had one speed, growth, but make it scorching. It was one of the hottest migration magnets of the pandemic era, literally and figuratively. People fled expensive states and poured into the Valley of the Sun for cheaper homes, more space, and the promise that dry heat is somehow better than humid heat, a debate still raging today. Developers, seeing dollar signs, responded exactly as you'd expect. They built, and built, and then built some more. But here's the twist. The newcomers stopped arriving as quickly as the apartments kept rising. The result? Vacancy rates climbing higher than the Phoenix skyline, and landlords suddenly becoming very, very friendly. After years of runaway rent increases that made locals wonder if the desert was secretly located in California, 2026 looks drastically different. Rent prices are slipping across the metro, with some buildings offering 2 or 3 months free, discounted deposits, furnished move-ins, and more perks than a Costco membership. The supply pipeline is enormous. Phoenix permitted so many new units between 2020 and 2024 that the city is now dealing with one of the largest rental gluts in the country. In neighborhoods like Tempe, downtown, and North Phoenix, entire blocks of fresh, shiny multifamily complexes are still waiting for tenants. And they don't like waiting. Combine this with a slowdown in inbound migration, especially from West Coast transplants who once considered Phoenix a budget-saving paradise, and you get a rental market that feels strangely relaxed, almost too relaxed. The kind of relaxed where landlords start offering, "Look, we'll negotiate anything, just please move in" energy. But don't let the discounts fool you. Phoenix is still growing, still business-friendly, and still an economic powerhouse for healthcare, tech, and manufacturing. The rental dip isn't about decline, it's about oversupply finally catching up with demand after years of out-of-control construction. And for renters, this is a golden moment. You can score a modern unit with a pool, a gym, and central AC, a non-negotiable in this city, for less than it cost just 2 years ago. In Phoenix, the weather may stay hot, but the rent, finally, mercifully, is cooling off. We are halfway through the countdown. Thanks so much for watching and sticking with the breakdown. You're the reason this channel keeps growing. If you're enjoying the insights, tap like, hit subscribe, and let me know in the comments which city has shocked you the most so far. Number 5. Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta has always been a city of ambition. Big highways, big dreams, big film productions, and yes, big apartment complexes. But in 2026, the A has a new headline. Rent is slipping, vacancies are rising, and landlords are suddenly way more polite than usual. For years, Atlanta was one of the fastest-growing metros in the country. People poured in from New York, Chicago, LA, and everywhere in between, all chasing warmer weather and lower costs. Developers followed the hype, stacking luxury mid-rises across Midtown, Buckhead, and the West Side, like they were playing SimCity on infinite budget mode. And it worked, until it didn't. Migration has slowed. New construction hasn't. This mismatch explains everything happening now. Atlanta's rental market is dealing with a massive supply wave, one so large it's basically washing over the demand side like a real estate tsunami. Thousands of brand new units are hitting the market at once, and suddenly landlords are scrambling to fill them. If you want proof, look no further than the move-in specials that read like infomercials. 2 months free, free parking, reduced deposits, gift cards, waived fees, and in some cases, all of the above. Rent reductions are spreading too. The average price for a one-bedroom has dipped noticeably, especially in neighborhoods surrounded by new development. Areas that once bragged about waitlists now look like they're auditioning renters. Even the high-end buildings, the ones with rooftop pools and dog spas, are offering deals that would have been laughed at in 2021. But here's the twist. Atlanta hasn't suddenly become undesirable. Far from it. The job market, especially in entertainment, tech, logistics, and healthcare, remains strong. The food scene is still top tier. Traffic? Well, traffic is still Atlanta. But affordability? That's improving for the first time in a long time. The real challenge is oversupply. With tens of thousands of units under construction, analysts estimate the imbalance could last well into 2027. Meaning renters have leverage, real leverage, in a city that hasn't given them a break in nearly a decade. So if you want modern amenities, a walkable neighborhood, and a bargain, Atlanta is quietly entering its golden era for renters. Landlords may not admit it, but deep down, they know they need you more than you need them. Number 4. Nashville, Tennessee. Nashville has spent the last decade transforming from a charming southern city into a full-blown national sensation. It wasn't just country music fans moving in, it was tech professionals, remote workers, healthcare employees, and aspiring influencers who believed every weekend should come with live music and hot chicken. Developers saw the boom and reacted like they had backstage passes to a construction frenzy. High-rise apartments, luxury mid-rises, micro-lofts, urban farmhouse-style complexes, you name it, Nashville built it. It was as if the entire city decided to audition for America's next top skyline. But here's the funny thing about hype. Eventually, it cools. By 2026, the massive wave of new apartments has outpaced the flow of newcomers. For the first time in years, Nashville is dealing with something almost unthinkable. Empty units and landlords sweating harder than tourists on Broadway in July. Vacancy rates have climbed sharply, and rents, once climbing faster than a guitar solo, have begun a slow, steady slide down. It's not that Nashville isn't thriving. The economy is still strong, the music scene is still magnetic, and tourism still pumps billions into the city. But the migration boom of 2020-2023 has leveled off. Remote workers aren't relocating in the same numbers, and many newcomers are choosing cheaper Tennessee suburbs instead of downtown's luxury price tags. That leaves landlords in the city proper suddenly competing, really competing, for tenants. And when landlords compete, tenants win. Across the metro, renters are seeing 2 months free, reduced deposits, waived parking fees, free storage units, and more amenities than anyone realistically uses. Do you need a rooftop yoga deck and a dog spa? Maybe not, but you'll get them anyway. Crucially, this isn't a warning sign of collapse. It's a classic case of overbuilding during a hot market, followed by a natural market correction. Nashville is still growing. It just grew too fast, and the housing supply overshot the demand curve. For renters, this is the glow-up moment. You can live downtown, near the action, in buildings with names like the Lyric or the Rhythm, for noticeably less than you would have paid 2 years ago. In Music City, one thing is clear. The rent is finally dropping a few notes, and everyone with a lease is singing along. Number 3. Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville has always been the quiet giant of Florida, massive in size, full of potential, and too humble to brag about it. But over the last few years, the secret got out. Remote workers, retirees, families, and sun-seekers flooded in, convinced they had found the perfect formula. Low taxes, warm weather, beaches close enough to visit, but far enough to avoid tourist stampedes. Developers saw the trend and said, "Great, let's build everything." And they did. Apartments, townhomes, mixed-use complexes, luxury units with fancy names like the Reef, the Dunes, and the Coastline. If it sounded beachy, it got built. But by 2026, Jacksonville hit the classic Florida plot twist. Supply finally caught up with demand, and then sprinted past it. Vacancies are now climbing across the metro area, with some neighborhoods reporting the highest empty unit rates in over a decade. Renters who once had to act fast or risk losing an apartment to someone who just landed from New York with cash in hand now find themselves in a completely different world. Landlords are suddenly polite, helpful, even generous. That alone tells you everything. We're talking multiple months of free rent, waived application fees, slashed move-in costs, free parking, discounted storage, upgraded appliances, and luxury amenity bundles that include everything from co-working spaces to dog wash stations. Basically, Jacksonville went from "take it or leave it" to "please take it, we insist." A big part of the shift comes from migration slowing down. Many who rushed to Florida during the pandemic boom have either settled elsewhere, moved to cheaper neighboring states, or realized that Florida summers come with enough humidity to steam broccoli on your porch. Meanwhile, developers kept building like the boom would last forever. Add in rising insurance costs, shifting job markets, and a cooling real estate frenzy, and you've got a city where the rental market finally has more keys than tenants. But here's the twist. Jacksonville is still thriving overall. It's still affordable for Florida, still growing, and still one of the most appealing metros for long-term relocation. The issue isn't lack of demand, it's that the city temporarily built too much too fast. For renters, though, this is prime time. Luxury living at mid-range prices, options everywhere, bargaining power on your side. Jacksonville's rental market doesn't just want you, it needs you. And in 2026, that's a rare advantage worth riding the tide for. Number 2. Las Vegas, Nevada. Las Vegas has never been shy about reinvention. It has transformed itself more times than a magician at a weekend show. But 2026 brought a new twist that even the locals weren't expecting. The rental market finally cracked, and not in a subtle way. For years, Vegas was one of America's hottest inbound destinations. Californians arrived in moving vans, remote workers hunted for cheap sunshine, and developers responded with confidence. And cranes. Lots of cranes. Apartments sprouted across the valley faster than casino buffets reopened after a food break. But here's the plot twist. The demand didn't keep up with the construction, not even close. By 2024 or 2025, Vegas had launched thousands of new units, luxury complexes, mid-rise buildings, smart apartments, gated communities with more amenities than some small resorts. By 2026, that supply wall hit the rental market like a slot machine that suddenly stops paying out. Vacancy rates climbing. Rent growth dropping. Landlords sweating. For renters, however, Vegas became one giant limited-time special. The city that once bragged about bidding wars now offers deals that sound like casino promotions. 2 months free. Move in for $99. Upgrade to a strip view unit at no additional cost. Free gym membership, and yes, we know you won't use it. Part of the drop comes from slowing migration. Many remote workers who once flocked to Vegas have moved on to cheaper small towns or states without Nevada's rising utility and HOA costs. Add in layoffs from hospitality, tech, and logistics sectors, industries that make Vegas hum. And suddenly, fewer people are lining up for all those shiny, newly built apartments. Meanwhile, the construction pipeline is still active, pouring more inventory into an already saturated market. And with homeownership still out of reach for many locals, competition among landlords has reached please pick me levels. But here's the thing. Las Vegas is still stable long term. Tourism is strong, the cost of living remains lower than much of the West Coast, and the city continues to attract retirees and digital nomads. The issue isn't the city collapsing, it's simply correcting. For renters, though, this is the jackpot moment. High-quality apartments at discounted prices, flexibility like never before, and landlords who finally realize that charm is cheaper than vacancies. In 2026, Vegas didn't gamble, it overbuilt, and tenants are the ones cashing in. Number 1. Miami, Florida. Miami is the one that took the biggest drop. This is the city that practically invented the phrase priced out, where rent once climbed faster than a South Beach influencer chasing a sponsorship deal. But now, something wild has happened. Miami's rental market is cooling fast. For years, Miami was America's poster child for runaway rent growth. Remote workers fled northern winters for ocean views, crypto investors moved in with big plans, and developers responded by building towers that could double as giant glass trophies. Miami went from expensive to this must be a typo levels of pricey. But in 2026, the hype cycle finally snapped. Why? Because too many luxury units hit the market at the same time. Condos, high-end apartments, and rental conversions that were supposed to be scooped up by an endless wave of newcomers. Except the wave slowed. Because when property insurance doubles, HOA fees spike, and basic groceries cost more than some domestic flights, people begin to reconsider their Miami dream. Vacancy rates began rising quarter after quarter. Suddenly, buildings that once boasted waiting lists now offer move-in bonuses, free parking, pet fee waivers, and 3 months free on select units. Leasing offices aren't just open, they're enthusiastic. Another big factor? Insurance and climate risks. Between hurricane seasons growing stronger and insurers pulling out or charging shocking premiums, developers and owners are struggling, and renters are seeing more deals as landlords scramble to fill units. But here's the twist. Miami is still Miami. Beaches, culture, nightlife, international flavor. It remains one of the most electric cities in the US. The problem isn't desirability. It's affordability. And when prices rise too high, even paradise gets quieter. For renters, though, this is arguably the best moment in a decade. You'll find discounts, incentives, and rare negotiating power in a market that once mutated into an Olympic sport. We've reached the end of the countdown. From Minneapolis to Miami, one thing is clear. America's rental market is shifting in real time. And these cities are feeling it first. Whether you're planning a move, searching for opportunities, or simply trying to stretch your budget further, knowing where the market is softening can be a game changer. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling us which city surprised you the most. More eye-opening guides are on the way. Stay tuned. Until next time, live smart, save smarter, and stay ahead of the curve.